Curious what's under this armor, the alien warrior asked. She didn't expect my answer. Smoke drifted low across broken stone and metal, and the ground still hummed faintly from weapons fire that had ended only minutes ago. Human Sergeant Elias Rowe lay on his back among shattered armor plates and scorched dirt, his chest rising and falling inside a suit that had seen too many battles. Warning lights blinked inside his helmet, soft and steady, like a tired heartbeat. Around him, the alien warriors moved with calm purpose. They were tall, broad-shouldered, and wrapped in living armor that flowed like dark metal fused with muscle. Their movements were smooth, almost graceful, as if the battlefield itself obeyed them. They spoke in low, clicking tones that Elias' translator struggled to keep up with. He did not understand the words, but he understood the feeling. Control, confidence, victory. Elias slowly lifted his hands, palms open, his rifle lying several meters away, cracked clean in half. He had calculated this moment long before it happened. Not every plan ended with escape. Some ended with capture. Two warriors stepped forward and hauled him to his feet with surprising care. They did not strike him or restrain him harshly. Their grip was firm, professional. Elias grunted as damaged servos in his armor protested, but he stayed upright. If he showed weakness now, it would confirm everything they believed about humans. They marched him through the ruins of what had once been a mining outpost. Burned vehicles lay half-buried in dust. Human and alien dead rested where they had fallen, silent witnesses to a conflict that neither side had truly understood when it began. Elias kept his head level, eyes forward, even as his suit's internal systems whispered about cracked ribs and internal bleeding. Pain was familiar. It was not something to fear. At the center of the alien formation stood their commander. She was taller than the others, her armor darker and marked with faint glowing lines that pulsed slowly, like veins of light. Her helmet was shaped differently, more angular, and when she turned, the entire group seemed to shift with her, as if she were the axis around which they moved. She studied Elias with clear, focused interest. When she spoke, the translator finally found a stable rhythm. "You are the one who did not retreat," she said. Her voice was deep, calm, and almost curious. All others fell back when resistance became inefficient. Elias met her gaze through his helmet visor. "I was told to hold this line," he replied simply. The commander tilted her head slightly, a gesture that seemed close to human curiosity. "Your armor is damaged. Your weapons are broken. You are outnumbered. Yet you remained." She stepped closer, close enough that Elias could see faint reflections of himself in the smooth surface of her helm. "Why?" Elias exhaled slowly. "Because the line still mattered." A quiet murmur moved through the surrounding warriors. The commander raised one armored hand and the sound stopped at once. She circled Elias slowly, studying every crack and burn mark on his suit. "Your kind's armor," she said, "is thin, inefficient, designed for replacement, not survival. Our scans show that beneath it your body is fragile." She stopped in front of him, curious. "What is under this armor that convinces you to fight as if you were not?" For a moment, the battlefield felt very still. Even the distant thunder of artillery seemed to fade. Elias considered his answer carefully. He could hear his own breathing, slow and steady, inside his helmet. He knew this moment mattered, though not in a way that would show on any tactical display. "What's under this armor?" he repeated. The commander nodded once. "Explain." Elias gave a small, tired smile. "Before I answer," he said, "you should know something. I didn't stay because I thought I could win." Several of the nearby warriors stiffened. The commander did not interrupt. "I stayed because someone had to," Elias continued. "Because if I didn't, the people behind me wouldn't have time to run. Because sometimes you don't fight for victory, you fight for time." The commander watched him in silence. Her visor gave nothing away. "You ask what's under this armor," Elias said. "But that's the wrong question. The armor is what makes us fight." She paused. "Then what does?" Elias lifted one hand and tapped the cracked plating over his chest. This just helps me last longer. Under it is fear, doubt, pain, all the things you think make a soldier weak. Confusion rippled through the alien ranks. The commander stepped closer again. Fear reduces efficiency, she said. Doubt causes failure. Pain breaks focus. Yeah, Elias agreed. That's what makes it interesting. For the first time, the commander hesitated. Just for a fraction of a second, Elias noticed. Humans don't fight because we don't feel fear, he said. We fight because we do. Every time we stand our ground, we're choosing to act anyway. The commander studied him in a new way now, no longer as a defeated enemy but as a puzzle. You admit weakness openly. Elias nodded. We build armor because we know we're weak. We train because we know we panic. We plan because we know we make mistakes. He paused, then added, and when all of that fails, we keep going anyway. Silence stretched between them. Wind carried ash across the broken ground. You could have surrendered earlier, the commander said. Your survival probability would have increased. Probably, Elias replied. But then I wouldn't be me. That answer seemed to trouble her. She turned away briefly, looking toward the horizon where human forces had retreated beyond sensor range. Fire still burned in the distance. She looked back at Elias. You speak as if loss is acceptable, she said. It is, Elias answered. Sometimes. The surrounding warriors shifted again, uneasy. The commander raised her hand once more and they stilled. Your species is inefficient, she said slowly. You accept casualties. You continue operations even when outcomes are statistically unfavorable. Elias shrugged as much as his damaged armor allowed. We don't see people as numbers. The commander regarded him for a long moment. That belief is dangerous. Elias chuckled softly, then winced as pain flared in his side. Yeah, he said, for everyone. A sharp tone sounded from one of the alien warriors who approached the commander and spoke quickly in their native language. Elias' translator caught fragments, movement, unexpected vectors, human units. The commander listened, then raised her head. Human forces are advancing sooner than predicted, she said to Elias. Your kind adapts quickly. We have a lot of practice, Elias replied. She studied him again, and when she spoke, her voice carried something new, not mockery, not threat, interest. You allowed yourself to be captured, she said. This was not an accident. Elias did not deny it. Sometimes the best place to learn about an enemy, he said, is right in front of them. Another pause. The commander straightened. Remove his weapon systems, she ordered. Do not execute him. Several warriors reacted in surprise but obeyed without question. One moved to Elias' side and disabled the remaining functions in his armor with precise efficiency. The commander leaned closer once more. You still have not fully answered my question, she said. What is under your armor? Elias met her gaze steadily. A human, he said. Someone who knows they can lose and chooses to fight anyway. For a long moment the alien commander said nothing. Then slowly she stepped back. Take him, she ordered. We will learn more. As Elias was led away, alarms began to echo faintly across the battlefield, distant but growing. Human signals cutting through alien channels. The war was not done, not even close. And somewhere beneath cracked armor and battered flesh, something stubborn and unyielding waited, patient as always, for the next moment to stand its ground. Elias woke to a steady hum and a soft vibration under his back. For a few seconds, he did not know where he was. His helmet was gone and cool air touched his face. The smell was different from any human ship or base he had known. Clean, sharp, almost metallic. Slowly, memory returned. The battlefield, the alien commander, the question. He opened his eyes. The room was wide and circular, its walls smooth and dark, with faint lines of light running through them like slow-moving rivers. He lay on a flat surface that gently adjusted itself to his weight. It was not a bed, not exactly, but it was not uncomfortable either. Restraints held his wrists and ankles, firm but not painful. His armor was still on him, but parts of it had been opened. Plates along his chest and arms were pulled aside, exposing the underlayer and the fabric beneath. Small alien devices hovered nearby, emitting quiet tones as they scanned him. Elias did not panic. Panic wasted energy. He tested the restraints once carefully. They did not move. That was fine. He had not expected them to. Footsteps echoed softly, not rushed, not aggressive. The alien commander entered the chamber alone. Her armor was the same dark living metal but without her helmet. Elias saw her face clearly for the first time. She was not what he had imagined. Her features were sharp but balanced, her skin a deep gray blue, smooth and unscarred. Her eyes were large and reflective, almost black, with faint rings of silver light moving slowly within them. She looked at him not with hatred but with focus, like a scientist studying a rare object. "You are awake," she said. "Guess I am," Elias replied. His voice was rough but steady. "You guys have better medical tech than I expected." She glanced at the scanners. "You are injured but stable. Your body resists shock better than projected." "Yeah," Elias said. "We're stubborn that way." She stepped closer, her movements quiet. "You do not show fear." "I do," Elias said. "I just don't let it do the talking." That earned a pause. She seemed to consider it, then dismissed the hovering devices with a gesture. They floated away and vanished into the walls. "You may call me Vale," she said. "It is the closest translation of my rank and name." "Elias," he replied. "Just Elias." Vale studied him again. "You were correct," she said. "Your capture altered the flow of battle. Human units advanced using patterns that suggest deliberate delay tactics." Elias smiled faintly. "Told you I was buying time." "You sacrificed your freedom," Vale said. "Possibly your life." "Possibly," Elias agreed. "Why?" she asked again. "Your answer before was incomplete." Elias took a slow breath. His ribs still hurt, but the pain was dull now. "Because someone had to stand where others couldn't," he said. "That's kind of our thing." Vale tilted her head. "Your species assigns value to individual choice over optimal outcome." "Sounds about right," Elias said. She turned and began to pace slowly around the chamber. "My people do not fight this way," she said. "We calculate, we advance when victory is assured, we withdraw when it is not." "And when do you lose?" Elias asked. She stopped. "We do not," Elias nodded. "That's the problem." Vale's eyes narrowed slightly. "Explain." "You don't know how," Elias said. "You don't know how to lose and keep going." Silence filled the chamber again. The hum of the ship felt louder in it. Vale spoke carefully. "Loss weakens morale. Loss reduces capacity." "Sure," Elias said. "But it also teaches. It hardens. It forces you to change." She studied him intently. "Your species has lost often." "Yeah," Elias said softly. "We really have." Vale turned toward a wall and the surface shifted, forming a projection. Images appeared. Human cities, battles, ruined colonies. Ships burning in space. Elias recognized some of them. News footage, history lessons, old wars and new ones. "You continue to expand despite repeated defeat," Vale said. "Your survival rate defies projections." "We adapt," Elias said. "Sometimes badly, sometimes painfully. But we adapt." The images shifted again, now showing alien victories, clean, precise. Entire human fleets disabled in coordinated strikes. Vale faced him once more. "This war should already be over," she said. "Yet it is not." Elias met her gaze. "Because you're fighting what you see," he said, "not what's underneath." Her eyes flickered with interest. "You return to the armor metaphor." "It matters," Elias said. "You think armor is protection. For us, it's a reminder. We know we're breakable. So we plan for when things go wrong." Vale walked closer again. "You believe this makes you stronger." "I know it does," Elias replied. She stopped directly in front of him. "Your forces are regrouping. Our sensors show increased coordination. You predicted this." "I hoped for it," Elias said. "Hope is not a reliable strategy," Vale said. "No," Elias agreed. but it's a powerful one. Another alien entered the chamber, bowing slightly to Vale before speaking rapidly in their language. Vale listened, then responded with short, precise words. The other alien left. Our forward command has suffered unexpected losses, Vale said. Human units employed tactics that disregard acceptable casualty ratios. Elias closed his eyes briefly. They always do. Vale watched him. You feel this? Yeah, Elias said quietly, every time. Yet you accept it, she said. No, Elias corrected. We carry it. That answer stayed with her. She turned away again. You are an anomaly, Vale said. Your behavior does not align with self-preservation. Elias smiled faintly. Depends on how you define self. She looked back. Your people define it broadly. Has to be that way, Elias said. If it was just about staying alive, we'd never leave our homeworld. Vale was silent for a long time. The ship's hum deepened slightly as it changed course. You will remain here, she said at last. You will be observed. Figured, Elias said. You may be questioned again, she added, by others. That's fine, Elias replied. I like talking. Her gaze lingered on him. You are not afraid of what may happen. I am, Elias said. I just don't let it decide things. Vale nodded slowly, as if that answer completed something she had been working through. As she turned to leave, Elias spoke again. Hey, Vale, she paused. You asked what's under the armor, he said. You're still looking at it. She considered him one last time. Then she left the chamber. Elias was alone again. The restraints loosened slightly, adjusting to allow limited movement. The ship moved steadily through space, carrying him deeper into enemy territory. He stared up at the ceiling, breathing slowly, feeling the familiar weight of uncertainty. He did not know if he would survive what came next, but that had never been the point. Somewhere out there, human forces were adapting, changing, pushing back in ways that could not be predicted by clean numbers and perfect logic. And here, inside an alien warship, one human presence was already doing its work. Not with weapons, with ideas. And that, Elias knew, was often far more dangerous. Time passed differently aboard the alien ship. There was no clear day or night, only soft changes in light and sound that marked cycles Elias slowly learned to count. His injuries healed faster than he expected. The alien medical systems worked quietly without ceremony. Pain faded to a dull memory, then to nothing at all. But the questions did not fade. They came in groups now. Not soldiers, not warriors, but thinkers, analysts, engineers. Some wore armor, others simple robes made of smooth, layered fabric. They stood behind glowing panels and shifting light displays, watching Elias as if he were both subject and puzzle. He remained seated, unarmed, unthreatening. Vale was always present, though she rarely spoke at first. She observed, listened, learned. They asked Elias about human tactics, about command structures, about supply chains and decision-making. He answered carefully, truthfully, but never fully. Not because he wanted to deceive them, but because some things could not be explained directly. Some things had to be understood. Your forces retreat even while advancing, one analyst said during a session. This is contradictory. It's not, Elias replied. It's flexible. Explain. You move forward with one hand, Elias said, and prepare to pull back with the other. That way, when something breaks, it doesn't take everything with it. The analysts exchanged looks. Vale watched silently. You plan for failure, another said. Yes, Elias answered, because failure always shows up. They did not like that answer. Later, alone again, Elias sat on the edge of his resting platform, staring at his hands. His armor was gone now, replaced with simple clothing provided by the ship. It felt strange not to feel the familiar weight on his shoulders. Naked in a way that had nothing to do with skin, footsteps approached. Vale entered slower than usual. The council is divided, she said. About me? Elias asked. About your species, Vale replied. Elias looked up. That bad, huh? Worse, she said. They believe humans are strategically unstable. Elias laughed softly. Yeah, that tracks. Vale did not smile. Unstable things break. Or they bend, Elias said, and hit back from a direction you didn't expect. Vale considered this. Our simulations do not account for such behavior. That's why they're failing, Elias said. She studied him carefully. You speak as if this is inevitable. It is, Elias replied. You can't map a mind that changes under pressure the same way twice. Vale turned away, her posture tense. Our losses are increasing, she said. Not in scale, in pattern. Elias frowned slightly. Meaning, your forces are learning us faster than we are learning them, Vale said. Elias leaned back, crossing his arms. That's because you're trying to understand what we do, he said. Not why we do it, she faced him again. Then tell me. Elias shook his head. I can't, he said. Not directly. Why, she asked. Because it wouldn't mean anything, Elias replied. You'd hear the words but not feel the weight behind them. Vale stepped closer. Try. Elias was quiet for a long moment. Humans don't fight because we think we'll win, he said slowly. We fight because giving up hurts more than losing. That stopped her. You experience pain either way, she said. Yes, Elias agreed. But one kind of pain ends, the other stays. Vale absorbed that in silence. Alarms sounded suddenly, sharp and urgent. The lights shifted color. Vale straightened at once. What's happening? Elias asked. She touched a panel on her arm, receiving data. Human forces have launched a deep strike, she said, far beyond their previous range. Elias smiled faintly. They're getting bold. They are reckless, Vale said. Same thing, Elias replied. Different language. The ship trembled slightly as it adjusted course. Distant sounds echoed through the structure, not explosions but rapid movement, preparations. Vale turned to him. You are not being restrained. I noticed, Elias said. You could attempt escape, she said. I could, Elias agreed, but I won't. Why, she asked. Because I'm more useful right here, Elias said. She searched his face. You are confident. No, Elias said. I'm committed. That word seemed to trouble her more than any threat. Later, Elias was escorted to a viewing chamber. A wide, transparent surface opened onto space. Outside, stars drifted slowly. Far in the distance, flashes of light marked combat. Human ships, alien ships, colliding ideas given form. Vale stood beside him. Our fleet should have repelled this assault, she said. Yet they have reached critical infrastructure. Elias watched the distant flashes. They're not trying to win the battle, he said. They're trying to change how you fight the next one. That is inefficient, Vale said automatically. It's human, Elias replied. A sudden bright flare blossomed in the distance. One of the alien structures went dark. Vale stiffened. That facility was not a priority target. It was to them, Elias said. It scared you. She turned to him sharply. Fear is not a weapon. Elias met her gaze. It is if you don't know how to carry it. Another silence, a longer one. You are changing us, Vale said finally. Not on purpose, Elias replied. But yeah, probably. She looked back out into space. My people value certainty, she said. You bring doubt. Doubt keeps you alive, Elias said. Certainty gets you killed. Vale did not argue. Days passed, or cycles. Elias lost track, but something shifted in the ship. The questions became less rigid, the guards less tense. The analysts argued among themselves more openly. One day, Vale returned with something new, a small piece of human armor plating cracked and burned. This was recovered from the battlefield, she said. Your unit's marking. Elias took it gently. Yeah, he said. That was my squad. Most did not survive, Vale said. Elias closed his eyes briefly. They knew the odds. You accept this too easily, she said. No, Elias said quietly. I accept it because I don't have a choice. Vale watched him closely. You grieve. Yes, Elias said. And yet you continue. Yes, he said again. She nodded slowly. Our warriors struggle after defeat, she said. They withdraw, they wait for new orders. And humans? Elias asked. They grow louder, she said, more unpredictable. Elias smiled sadly. That's us coping. Another alarm sounded, less urgent this time. Vale checked her panel. "Our command council has requested your presence," she said. Elias raised an eyebrow. "That sounds serious." "It is," Vale replied. "They want to understand what is under your armor." Elias stood, squaring his shoulders even without the familiar weight. "Then let's not waste their time." As they walked through the ship, Elias felt it again. That quiet pressure, that sense of standing at the edge of something important. He did not know how this would end. For him, for the war, but he knew one thing with absolute clarity. Humanity had already changed the fight, not by being stronger, not by being faster, but by refusing to break in the way they were expected to. And for an enemy built on certainty, that refusal was becoming the most dangerous force of all. The chamber was larger than any room Elias had seen on the ship. It was shaped like a wide circle, with tiered platforms rising along the walls. Tall figures stood on those platforms, dozens of them, all facing inward. Some wore armor marked with rank and age. Others wore flowing garments that shifted color as they moved. At the center of the chamber was a single open space. That was where Elias stood. He felt small, and he knew that was intentional. Vale remained at his side, one step behind, silent. She had warned him that the council was not like the soldiers or analysts he had spoken to before. These were the ones who decided how wars were fought and when they ended. They valued control above all else. A deep, layered sound echoed through the chamber. It was not one voice but many speaking together in careful rhythm. "Human," the council said, "you stand before us because you disrupt prediction." Elias kept his posture relaxed. "That happens a lot," he said. A ripple of reaction passed through the chamber. Some leaned forward, others stiffened. "You treat this moment lightly," the council said. Elias shook his head. "No," he replied, "I just don't see fear as useful here." "That is exactly the flaw we seek to understand," the council said. "Your species continues to fight despite overwhelming disadvantage. You absorb loss without collapse. This behavior threatens long-term stability." Elias glanced briefly at Vale, then back to the council. "Stability for who?" he asked. The sound of many voices speaking at once returned, lower now, "For all." "With respect," Elias said, "wars don't feel stable from the ground." Silence followed. Heavy, deliberate. "You were captured deliberately," the council said. "You allowed yourself to be removed from your forces. Why?" "So you talk to me," Elias answered simply, "instead of just shooting at us." "That choice endangered your survival," the council said. "Yeah," Elias replied, "but it improved our odds." A figure on the upper tier stepped forward, its voice separated from the rest, sharp and clear. "You believe yourself valuable," it said. Elias shrugged. "I believe ideas are." "Explain," the figure demanded. Elias took a slow breath. "You're fighting a war you understand," he said. "Against an enemy you think you've measured, but humans aren't consistent. We change when things get bad." "We change as well," the figure said. "No," Elias replied. "You adapt inside rules, we rewrite them." That caused visible unrest. Vale shifted slightly but did not speak. "You claim superiority of thought," the council said. "No," Elias corrected. "I claim flexibility." Another figure stepped forward. "Flexibility leads to chaos." "Sometimes," Elias agreed. "But chaos is hard to control, that's why it scares you." The chamber grew tense. Lights along the walls brightened, responding to rising emotional output. Elias could feel it even without understanding all the alien signals. "You provoke," the council said. "I warn," Elias replied. Vale finally spoke. "He speaks truth," she said. "Our projections degrade in prolonged engagement. Human behavior diverges further over time." Several figures turned toward her. "You advocate uncertainty," the council said. "I acknowledge reality," Vale answered calmly. The council returned its focus to Elias. "What do humans seek from this conflict?" Elias thought carefully before answering. "Survival," he said, "but not just that, choice. The right to decide our own future." You already possess territory, the council said, resources, expansion routes. And you want more, Elias said, so do we, that's not the real problem. Then state the problem, the council demanded. You don't see us as people, Elias said. You see us as variables. The chamber went quiet. That perspective is efficient, the council said at last. It's also wrong, Elias replied, and it's why this war keeps slipping out of your control. One of the armored figures moved abruptly. Enough, it said. This human uses words as weapons. Elias met its gaze. Words are lighter than bombs, he said, but they last longer. The council spoke again, slower this time. Your forces have inflicted unacceptable disruption, supply nodes destroyed, command delays, morale fluctuation among our warrior castes. Elias nodded. You're feeling pressure. We do not experience fear, the council said. Elias looked around the chamber. Then why am I still alive? That landed harder than any accusation. Time stretched. Vale held still, her expression controlled. You believe mercy is weakness, Elias continued. You think hesitation is failure, but that's not how humans work. Then define strength, the council said. Elias did not answer immediately. When he did, his voice was quiet. Strength is knowing what you can lose, he said, and deciding what's worth losing anyway. Some of the council members turned inward, consulting each other in silent signals. Our doctrine does not allow for such inefficiency, the council said. That doctrine is breaking, Elias replied. You can feel it. Another alarm echoed faintly through the chamber, not loud but urgent. Data streams flickered along the walls. Vale glanced up, then back to the council. Human forces have struck a secondary fleet, she said, using civilian vessels reinforced for combat. A sharp reaction spread. They armed non-military assets. They always do when they have to, Elias said. That's not desperation, that's resolve. That violates engagement norms, the council said. Those norms were written by people who thought wars stayed tidy, Elias replied. The council spoke again, voices overlapping in agitation. This conflict escalates beyond acceptable bounds. Elias nodded. It always does. You suggest we withdraw, the council said. I suggest you rethink, Elias answered. You can keep pushing until one of us breaks, or you can recognize that humans don't break the way you expect. And if we continue, the council asked. Elias looked up at them, meeting as many eyes as he could. Then we will lose worlds, he said, and so will you, and the ones who survive will remember. That is a threat, one figure said. No, Elias replied, it's history. Vale stepped forward slightly. We have observed this pattern, she said. Human defeat does not reduce resistance, it multiplies it. The council fell silent again. You argue for restraint, the council said to Vale. I argue for understanding, she answered. The council turned back to Elias. What do you want? Elias did not hesitate. I want this war to end before it teaches us both the wrong lessons. What lessons? The council asked. That survival means becoming something you can't undo, Elias said. The chamber dimmed slightly. The council conferred for a long time. Elias waited, breathing slowly, aware that this moment balanced on a thin edge. Finally, the voices returned. You will be returned, the council said. Not as prisoner, not as envoy, as signal. Elias frowned. Signal how? You will carry our response, the council said. A pause, a recalculation. Vale looked sharply at them. This is unprecedented. So is this conflict, the council replied. Elias felt a mix of relief and weight settle in his chest. You're calling a ceasefire, he said. A temporary suspension, the council corrected. To observe. That's a start, Elias said. You will be watched, the council added. Elias nodded. Fair. As the chamber began to clear, Vale walked beside him again. You altered their thinking, she said quietly. Elias exhaled. Let's hope it was enough. They moved through the corridors toward a departure bay. Outside, stars drifted calmly, unaware of how close everything had come to burning. Vale stopped before the transport platform. When you return, she said, Your people may not trust this pause. They won't, Elias said. But they'll use it. She studied him one last time. You were right, she said, about what lies under your armor. Elias gave a tired smile. Yeah, endurance, Vale said, and choice. The platform activated, light rising around him. As Elias vanished toward home, the war did not end. But for the first time it hesitated. And for a conflict built on certainty, that hesitation was the most dangerous change of all. The human transport slid out of alien space in silence, wrapped in layers of signal dampening and cautious trust. Elias sat alone inside the small craft, strapped into a narrow seat, staring at the dark stretch of stars ahead. His body was healed, but his mind felt heavier than it had in years. He was going home. That should have felt like victory. It did not. When the transport crossed into human-controlled space, it was met by armed escorts. Protocol did not bend for hope. The escorts guided him to a secure station near the edge of the conflict zone, far from civilian traffic. The moment Elias stepped off the transport, soldiers surrounded him, weapons ready but not aimed. He raised his hands anyway. Medical teams rushed forward, scanning him, asking questions, pulling him into bright rooms filled with familiar sounds. Human sounds. Machines that hummed too loudly. Voices that spoke too fast. He answered what he could when he could. Most of the time, he just let them work. Hours later, cleaned, fed, and dressed in a simple uniform, Elias stood in front of a long table surrounded by officers and analysts. Their faces were tired, some looked hopeful, others looked angry. You were a prisoner, one officer said, and now you're back. Yes, Elias replied. Alive, another added, with a message. Yes, Elias said again. A general leaned forward. You're telling us the enemy has paused. Not surrendered, Elias said. Paused. That could be a trap, someone said. It could, Elias agreed. Or it could be the first smart thing they've done. Murmurs spread across the room. You trust them? The general asked. Elias shook his head. No, he said. I understand them a little better. That answer did not satisfy everyone. It wasn't meant to. He explained what he could. The council, Vale, the questions, the hesitation. He did not dress it up. He did not promise peace. He told them the truth. They're not afraid of us, he said. They're afraid of what they can't predict, and we just showed them they don't know how we break. One analyst frowned. Or if we do. Exactly, Elias said. The room fell quiet. Orders followed quickly. Fleets held position. Weapons stayed hot. Recon units watched every movement. Humanity did not relax. It never had. Elias was released from debriefing with a quiet warning to remain available. He was given a small room, a bed, and a view of a distant starfield. He slept for almost a full day. When he woke, messages waited for him, some from command, some from strangers, some from families who had lost people in the fighting. They had heard rumors. A human had spoken to the enemy. A human had slowed the war. Elias read them slowly. He did not reply to most. There were no words that could carry that weight safely. Days passed. The ceasefire held. Not everywhere. Skirmishes still flared at the edges. Old orders took time to die. But the massive strikes stopped. The kind that burned worlds quieted. Human engineers worked. Soldiers trained. Civilians repaired what they could. Humanity did what it always did in the space between disasters. Prepared. Far away, aboard alien ships and stations, similar things happened. Command structures argued. Warrior castes questioned. Analysts rewrote simulations that no longer worked. Vale stood in one such chamber, watching projections shift and collapse. The future refused to stay still. They adapt again, an advisor said, even without advancing. They always do, Vale replied. The council believes this pause may benefit them, the advisor continued. Vale said nothing. She thought of Elias, of his calm voice, of his quiet grief, of how he had stood unarmored in a chamber built to intimidate and spoken anyway. She thought of the human armor fragment she still kept locked away. Cracked, burned, refusing to be impressive. Under it had been everything her people had not planned for. Weeks passed. The ceasefire became talks. Talks became negotiations, not friendly, not warm, but real. Elias was asked to advise. He did not sit at the table. He stood behind it, quiet, watching patterns form and break. When asked a direct question, he answered simply. Humans did not demand apology. They demanded boundaries. The alien coalition did not admit fault. They acknowledged cost. It was not peace, but it was something new. One evening, as Elias walked through the station corridor, he felt that familiar pressure again, that sense of being watched. He turned. Vale stood there, flanked by two guards, unarmed. Station security tensed instantly. Elias raised a hand. "It's okay," he said quietly. They did not like it, but they listened. Vale approached slowly. "I was permitted to observe," she said. "Yeah," Elias replied. "That sounds about right." They stood together, looking out through a wide viewport at a human shipyard. Damaged vessels hung in space, wrapped in scaffolding, surrounded by workers in small suits moving like ants. "They rebuild quickly," Vale said. "We have a lot of practice," Elias answered. She was silent for a moment. "The council studies your phrase," she said. "The one about knowing what you can lose." Elias nodded. "They probably hate it." "They do," Vale said, "which means it matters." They watched in silence. "Do you believe this will last?" she asked. Elias thought about it. "Long enough to matter," he said, "not long enough to be easy." Vale accepted that. "You did not threaten us," she said. "You did not beg, you did not boast." "No," Elias said. "I just told you who we are." "And that was enough," she said. Elias smiled faintly. "Sometimes honesty hits harder than force." Vale turned to face him. "My people will not forget this," she said. "Neither will mine," Elias replied. She studied him one last time. "If this war resumes," she said, "it will not be the same." "No," Elias agreed. "Wars never are after you really see each other." Vale inclined her head, a gesture he now recognized as respect. Then she turned and walked away, her steps calm, measured, changed. Elias watched her go. Later, alone again, he stood before the viewport, hands resting against the glass. He thought of the battlefield, of the question that had started everything. What's under the armor? He looked down at himself, at scarred hands, at a body that healed but remembered, at a mind full of names that would never answer again. Under the armor was fear. Under the armor was pain. Under the armor was loss. But under all of that was something older and harder to kill. The choice to stand. The choice to keep going. The choice to face the unknown and speak anyway. Out among the stars, fleets watched each other carefully, weapons silent, minds racing. The war had not ended in triumph or fire. It had paused in thought. And for the first time, the galaxy was learning something dangerous and true about humanity. They were not unstoppable. They were not unbreakable. But they would endure. And they would always, always choose to stand back up.